Well, we've got a bit of a bromance brewing here, don't we, between President Trump and UFC champion and MMA superstar Conor McGregor. You may have heard that McGregor lavished Trump with adoring praise in one of his latest tweets that was then followed up by Trump praising him. But what you may not know is that both these men share enormous nationalist populist sentiments that's clearly forming the basis for this burgeoning bromance. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at what Conor McGregor said and how such praise matches perfectly with MMA as the ideal populist sport. I think you'll find the discussion very enriching. But before we do, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's our very, very good friends over at American Values Investments. So for over 15 years, American Values Investments have provided patriotic Americans the opportunity to invest in stocks of companies that they believe best embody America's founding values. Their stock portfolios, similar to mutual funds, allow investors to save for retirement while supporting companies that best reflect the values that most Americans cherish. Values like integrity, caring, and courage. Now, of course, there's risk in the stock market, and this ad does not constitute an endorsement. But if you want to learn more on how your investments can reflect timeless American values, then check them out at AmericanValues.com or click on the link below. You'll be glad that you did. All right, so fresh off his huge UFC victory on Saturday where McGregor knocked out, or technically TKO'd, as I understood, technical knockout. He beat Don the Cowboy Cerrone, I believe, just 40 seconds in the first round in Las Vegas. Huge fight, huge win for McGregor, 40 seconds in the first round. I mean, that's a resounding win. And so fresh off that fight, he tweets out this lavish praise of President Trump just the other day. And let me read for you this tweet. It's wonderful. Phenomenal president, quite possibly the USA's greatest of all time. Most certainly one of them anyway, as he sits atop the shoulders of many amazing giants that came before him. No easy feat. Early stages of term also incredible. Close quote. Now this tweet from McGregor was in response to an earlier tweet Trump had tweeted out that day. Trump was celebrating his 3 years in office while touting low unemployment numbers for African Americans in recognition of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Now, black unemployment right now stands at 5.9%, which is the lowest on record. Just to give you a sense of how astonishing that number is, 5.9%. Back in December of 1981, black unemployment was 21%. So McGregor is absolutely correct. It is an astonishing feat on the part of Trump. Without question here. However, if McGregor thought he could get away with this without the outrage mob, the Twitter virtue signalers, he had another thing coming. So one Twitter nut out there tweeted, "These are the words of a man who's been hit in the head many, many times." To which we respond, this is the tweet of someone who actually thought he made a meaningful comment. Or how about this one? The bromance between McGregor and Trump is predictable since both of them are, wait for it, you know it, they're both, fill in the blank, racists. Yes. They both love each other because they both love racism. I wonder if these people can actually type racist with their fists, right? Or can they actually go a day on Twitter without writing the word racist? Now, to be honest with you, this kind of unthinking, virtue signaling comments, they reveal something else as well here. I think at a deeper level. And that's how McGregor and Trump are united by nationalist populist sentiments, particularly as those populist sentiments surround mixed martial arts, the MMA today. And, when I read about this bromance, and I should note, too, that Trump reciprocated and retweeted McGregor's praise with his own, congratulating McGregor on an amazing win over the weekend, resounding victory there. But when I read this, what drew my attention is how both Conor McGregor and Donald Trump meet on the field of populism, as it were. They're both clearly men of gigantic and significant populist sentiments, which makes them natural allies. And I think it's all part of the bigger picture of what made MMA, or mixed martial arts fighting, so successful in terms of audience and viewership and the like. One of the things that's so interesting here with Conor McGregor is how the MMA as a whole has in many respects replaced boxing as the ideal populist sport. And there's a little bit of a history to this. We can often forget that sports often have an aristocratic sense to them, like swimming, golf, tennis, polo, equestrianism. By contrast, right, boxing is the sport of every man. All I need is my body, like wrestling. It's a sport of the playground. It's a sport of the back alley. It's a sport of the pub. In many respects, it really is the only sport, too, where the underdog always has a chance, just one chance to, knock the undisputed champion on the chin and watch him fall. So this notion of boxing as being the popular sport par excellence has been captured in the movies like Rocky and The Champ and Cinderella Man. And yet what's so interesting here is that the professional evolution of boxing has brought about a marked tension with this populist vision. Actually, Rocky explores that with Apollo Creed. It's been said that populism is fueled by the sense of maintaining the dignity of the middle class in the face of increasing industrial and corporate control over various social and economic lives. So populist sentiments, they long for and idealize a far more natural order, one that returns to land and community and home, as opposed to industry and machine and city. It romanticizes the farm over the factory, the local over the Leviathan, right? The personal over the anonymous public. The boxer, in many respects, is the symbol of the populist battle against corporate globalists and big banks and any other special interest that beats down the common man by setting itself up against the communitarian localist vision of life of the populace. But unfortunately, the corporatist consumerism and depersonalized professionalism of contemporary boxing really stands in stark contrast to the populist sentiments boxing represented for so many centuries. And I think this is one of the reasons why the MMA, mixed martial arts, has become more popular than boxing. MMA dismisses the glamour and glitz of Vegas-style boxing. It turns its back on the protocols and pomposity of professionalism, and instead it sort of embraces the heart of the athlete and the people. MMA gets back to what in many respects is the purest sport of them all. Two opponents standing toe-to-toe, and the two go at it until, one remains standing. That's the ideal, of course. There remains judging component to it where matches have both fighters going the distance. But this notion of two men facing each other in a ring really is sports competition in its rawest form. Moreover, MMA fighters are some of the most accessible and affable athletes in competition today. So what's impressed me is that there's an extraordinary camaraderie that exists among them. Many of them are devout Christians who give glory to God on their wins or losses. They open up their lives and their training to their fans via social media like very few other professional sports figures do today. MMA fighters really are the athletic cream of the crop of their respective neighborhoods and communities, and they bring that communal ethos to bear on their sports competition. And in contrast to, the Don King pay-per-view exclusivity that dominates the boxing world, MMA fights can be seen almost anywhere and at any time on cable sports channels. And so this is why sports commentators have noted that MMA fighters seem to have replaced boxers as the new populist heroes. And in many respects, Conor McGregor embodies this ethos of populism. He's the populist Irishman going into the ring with the Irish flag draped over him, fighting for the honor and celebration of the people of Ireland. And again, the crossover here is very, very interesting when you think about Trump's involvement with the WWE, right? The World Wrestling Entertainment. And I know there's a massive difference between MMA and WWE, but think about it now. This is going several years back, but WrestleMania 4 and 5 were both held at Trump Plaza in Atlantic City. Trump was featured prominently in promotional materials and billboards, together with, remember, our old Hulk Hogan and Mean Gene Okerlund and the like. And in fact, one scholar's written on this has seen this relationship between Trump and Hulk Hogan as perhaps the beginning of Trump's populist appeal. Those of you who watch WWE know that WWE casts certain characters as heroes of the people, perhaps like most recently the 5'8" Daniel Bryan, right? But one scholar sees the populist appeal actually going back to Hulk Hogan, who was, in the opinion of this scholar, sort of the quintessential populist, a Herculean defender of the people with a very loyal following of Hulkamaniacs. And what's so interesting here is that during this period of time, with the beginning of the WrestleMania, so that's like the 80s and early 90s, Hulk Hogan would often refer to Donald Trump in his snarling soliloquies, staring into the camera. And he consistently depicted Trump as an ally of Hulkamaniacs and the people. So I see this praise that McGregor has lavished on Trump really is just a natural extension of this. Both McGregor and Trump are in their own ways populist champions, and the bromance that's developed between the two is a wonderful development in an increasingly populist world. Now, before you go, we just uploaded a great video on Trump and Greta Thunberg, both at Davos. And let's just say there ain't no bromance going on there. I contrast the doom and gloom of Greta's whining and complaining with Trump's triumphant message of economic nationalism and a booming economy. I think you're going to absolutely love it. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.